Toronto Maple Leafs are making moves as they have made a shocking move. We'll break down exactly who that is and discuss what it means. The playoffs are now just days away. We also have multiple updates as it pertains to the injuries, as it is now the calm before the storm. We're about 48 hours away from what's going to be the most important playoff run in the past decade for this team. So a ton of things to go over today, but before we get into it, folks, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. If you're part of that 71% and you aren't subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a crazy playoff run. We're going to have you covered all the way through. So thank you guys for your continued support. There's a ton to go over today. Obviously, we weren't really expecting a ton of updates or moves today, but there was an optional skate, and there was a lot of players who took part in the optional skate. The Leafs are making moves, and now that the regular season is officially over, a lot of moves are going to be made. And of course, your guy, somehow, Ryan Reaves finds his way back onto the team. The Maple Leafs have officially recalled Ryan Reaves from the Marlies, and let's dive into this. Now, obviously, you clamored most of the season about his importance in these things, and maybe he'll start game one. I mean, technically now it's still possible, albeit I don't think it's going to happen. And before we dive into all these updates, let's start with Ryan Reaves here. He has been recalled for the playoffs because, of course, once the playoffs start, there's no limitations. You can basically do whatever you want, as we've seen the Golden Knights do for a very long time. What are your thoughts on this? And do you think he actually factors into this team, or do you think it's more of a precaution in case someone gets injured and maybe if things get a little bit chippy depending how the series goes?
Well, the playoffs are officially about to start tomorrow. There's no more roster limitations, so they can call up whoever they want at this point. And the Marlies are in the middle of a playoff race, so he has been playing, but they're going to do their thing without him, and he's back up. And I think he's more back up with the Leafs for the vibes, to be honest, at this point, to have him around the guys in the dressing room, stuff like that, day to day. I think it's more about that. Will he play game one? I don't think so. And, my opinion has changed on that. I thought that that was the case probably a little while ago, but the fourth line that they have found right now has been playing really well, and kind of the formula they found with the lineup has been playing well. So I don't think he gets into game one. And I do think that the team wants to set the tone in game one. But I do think that, again, he's up for the vibes, but at the same time, he's the Leafs' built-in policeman at this point. I think that, if anything happens throughout this series, if Brady Tkachuk says, you know what, we're down 2-0 in the series, I'm going to hit Austin Matthews from behind and throw him head first into the boards or something like that. Reaves is going to say, all right, I have something to say about that. Craig Bruve is going to say, I have something to say about that. Revo, you're going in game four, right? Again, the odds of that happening, I don't think so, right? I think that both teams are going to play hard and try to win this series. But if anything does happen, if there's any theatrics at all, I don't think Craig Berube will hesitate at all to put Ryan Reaves in the next game and have him say something about it, because he's just waiting in the weeds a little bit to make sure that nobody messes with this team. But I think more than anything, he's up with the team right now for the vibes, have him around in the dressing room, have his personality kind of shine through as the Leafs try and win a Stanley Cup here.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around now for a few years, and he's gonna be the. I think I agree with you. It's gonna be a vibes. It is a vibes move, and he was skating at the team's optional skate this morning. And I'm sure ultimately it's also kind of just a good thing to do if you're the front office. Get him back with the team, all these different things, and I'm sure he wants to be there for the playoff run. He was with the team for basically half of this season, and then of course they found something else. Yeah, and the fourth line is pretty set in stone as is. They've been playing very good hockey. They don't want to mess with it. Obviously, the addition of Scott Laughton, Steven Lorentz in the offseason has made Ryan Reaves a bit more obsolete. That paired with a bit less physicality in general, just the way that these fights have been going throughout the season, at least on the Leafs side of things. Ryan Reaves wasn't really, there wasn't too much need for reinforcement and reinforcers out there. And that seems to be kind of getting phased a little bit out, but also back in depending on who you ask and what team you're a fan of. But let's also dive into some of the updates here. The Maple Leafs are on the ice at the optional skate today. They do practice tomorrow, so there'll be a ton of updates tomorrow. But OEL, Jake McCabe, Yanni Hakanpää, Dakota Mermis, and Philippe Myers are all skating at the optional skate along with Patches, Kampf, Reaves, and Domi. Now, again, we'll probably hear about the lines specifically regarding Pacioretty and if David Kampf gets in, but everybody is 100% healthy here. You also have Hakanpää as a backup if any injuries happen, or again, depending on how they want to go about this here. We kind of know what the blue line is going to look like. The big question mark now is Pacioretty and, of course, David Kampf. Also, notice there, Anthony Stolarz is at the optional skate today. All signs are pointing to him getting in net, but a ton of things here, and everybody's healthy, good to go. And if there was any sort of lingering injury, you wouldn't assume they'd push it here with it, even though it's just an optional skate. But again, I don't think it seems they're all 100% healthy. As it pertains to, of course, they have a bunch of bruises, all these different things. But as it pertains to being ready for game one, they're going to be playing.
Yeah, I think they're going to be playing OEL, McCabe for sure. They're going to be back in the lineup. David Camp, all signs are pointing to them being back, and the fact that they're at the optional skate, it screams that to me at this point because they're feeling good enough to be skating, and they're getting some work in before they ultimately practice tomorrow, and then game one is on Sunday. So that's great news. Stolars, Domi, I guess just warming up the legs or something out there, just practicing with the guys out there. Pacioretty, what's going to happen with him? Like we're gonna get our answer I think tomorrow. The line rushes in practice are going to tell us a lot in terms of what the lineup's going to look like in Sunday. So I'm excited for practice tomorrow. I assume they're going to practice. I mean,
They are,
all
yeah.
signs are pointing to them practicing. So that's going to be the best thing to look out for tomorrow to kind of see what the line rushes are looking like. And then Hawkenpaw, I think that was interesting too. Like if somebody gets hurt, and hopefully it doesn't happen, but if you go on a long playoff run, we've seen it before. It happens. Sundin got hurt in 2002. They played almost the entire playoffs without him. These things happen to a defenseman if there is an injury. Who comes in? Is it Myers, right? With everyone healthy, right? Is it Myers that comes in? Is it Hawkenpaw? Hawkenpaw hasn't played the whole year, but he's there as like an insurance policy and a big body for these playoff style games. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens there because Hawkenpaw has kind of just been waiting in the weeds as well. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. And just the line rushes. I'm just looking forward to that. Who's playing with who? Is Pacioretty in the lineup? Is he not to start? Will he get into the lineup during the series? I think it's going to be interesting to watch. But and does maybe Pacioretty plays on the road? That could be a factor in this series. It's going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, and of course, I'd probably lean towards Philip Myers right now. Of course, you have Hakanpää and Dakota Mermis, who both did fine jobs. Specifically, Dakota Mermis, and over the past few games, Yanni Hakanpää played like 2 or 3 games this season. I think it was 2, but either way, let us not have below the exact number. Regardless of that, it's going to be a crazy, crazy playoff run. It's interesting to see everybody just ready to go, and tomorrow's going to be the big tell. The playoffs start for, of course, a couple teams, the Jets, the Stars, that series. And now for the Leafs, we're going to know tomorrow, at least we should know, the line rushes. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's honestly the same as what we saw in the past few regular season games. I think there is a real world now where Pacioretty doesn't get in for game one and they just keep riding. But that's the biggest question. Also, of course, David Camp. There's a lot of people in our live stream are saying that they don't even think he should be on the team right now or obviously be on the lineup. Of course, he can be on the team. So it's going to be wild there. A ton of big question marks. And also, Ottawa, it's some interesting things going on here. So you can see this here. The Sens plan to take back the Canadian Tire Center and keep Toronto fans out of the building during the Battle of Ontario. Ottawa's a real good team, and it's going to be a battle, but it real boils down to our team and their commitment and the battle we'll need. So Darius, they're going to try to keep Leafs fans out for game 3 and 4, and hopefully that's all it takes. It started with the organization coming up with a strategy to get as many tickets in hands of its season ticket base. Not only were those customers able to buy their usual seats at a discounted price, but they were able to give them, of course, to others for 2 more seats. So this is interesting now, and of course, this isn't super uncommon, but at the point where, obviously Ottawa and Toronto, there's going to be a ton of Toronto fans traveling to Ottawa. They're obviously close together for the game. It's going to be I think a lot of it's going to depend maybe even on how the series is going here for the travels as it pertains to what the actual crowd reaction is going to be like. But I think either way, hopefully some Leafs fans can sneak between the cracks. But we also saw literally yesterday as the Ottawa Senators were getting pumped by the Carolina Hurricanes, they were cheering Leafs suck while losing and while Linus Ullmark was putting up a disaster class game. So I'm just going to throw that out there. But what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's interesting heading into the playoffs. And Kachuk, was pulled out of that game for precautionary reasons too. And that was his first game back since March 30th. So that's something to keep an eye on. But yeah, the Senators organization is trying to keep Leaf fans out of the building. I don't think it's going to work. I think they're trying their best. And obviously, like, it's not going to be 95% Leaf fans or anything like that. Like, Sens fans are going to show up for their team in the playoffs. But that being said, I mean, if this series goes 5 games, it's going to be 5 home games for the Leafs. If it goes 6 games, it's going to be 6 home games for the Leafs, right? That is the fact of the matter. It's going to be a majority of Leaf fans in both buildings. And I think that the atmosphere in Ottawa is going to be incredible because the atmosphere in Toronto is what it is. It's a little bit better in the playoffs usually every year, but the one in Ottawa, those games are going to be absolutely electric. So it's going to be a fun series to watch. And the Senators are trying everything they can to keep Leaf fans out of the building, as they should. I guess you want your own fans in there, right? It does make sense, but Leaf fans are going to infiltrate anyway, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think the Leafs arena is going to be bumping like it usually does in the playoffs, but a lot of diehard fans of both teams are going to be in the Canadian Tire Arena, especially those traveling. So if you're there, be loud, and of course, hopefully it's going to be crazy. You can see this here. What we're doing is taking care of our season ticket holders. So it's going to be wild. It's going to be exciting. Of course, I mean, if you're a Senators fan, also they haven't been to the playoffs in a while. Brady Tkachuk's first taste of the playoffs, so hopefully it'll be a fun time losing to the Leafs in 5, like I predicted in our live stream yesterday. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know below your thoughts are on Ryan Reaves and your thoughts on our a lot of these updates, it all worked out. Everybody seems to be healthy. Everybody seems good to go. There's no more games, no more risk of injury, anything like that. So hopefully, knock on wood, the Leafs will be good to go for the game on Sunday. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.